salt spray, the screech of gulls, a rough, distant song carried on the wind.
A pirate shanty.
It's 1717, and the sea whispers a name that chills the blood.
Edward Teach.
Blackbeard. You sent us some great material about him.
And in this deep dive, that's what we're going to be exploring. That line between myth and the often brutal reality of pirates.
Because when we think pirates, we often picture a cartoon.
Right.
The R's, the buried treasure, the whole bit.
Of course.
But your sources, they hint at something way more raw and real.
Exactly. And our goal today is to really tease that out from what you've given us. Who were these people, really? What was their world actually like? And what drove them?
Settle in, everybody. We're diving deep into the questions your documents raised. Did pirates really bury treasure? What was life like on a pirate ship? And how did Blackbeard, this legendary figure, really meet his end?
It's going to be a fascinating ride.
So let's talk about buried treasure. I mean, you can't think of pirates without it, right? It's in every movie, book, you name it. But did they really bury chests of gold on deserted islands? That's what we gotta know.
Well, that image we all have. The lone pirate at night, the tattered map, the chest overflowing with gold. It's mostly from our imaginations, fueled by those classic pirate stories. The reality, judging by the sources you've sent, was quite different. Pirates, they lived very much in the moment. What they plundered, they spent it, and spent it quickly.
Makes sense when you think about it. If you're living a life like that, why plan for the future, right?
Exactly. Immediate reward. But here's what's interesting, and your sources do touch on this. Despite this, a lot of pirate crews had a surprisingly organized system in place.
You mean the pirate code? It seems crazy that these outlaws would follow rules, doesn't it?
It does. But they did. Not formal laws, but more like a set of agreements. Articles, they call them. Customs they all followed. And it gets even more interesting because they were actually quite democratic about it. They voted on things, big things, even their captain.
Hold on, the crew could vote the captain out. I always thought a pirate captain was like the absolute boss.
That's another myth your documents help bust.
Yeah.
The captain had power, for sure, but it came with conditions. He was chosen because he was a good leader, successful in raids. But if he messed up, too cruel, too unlucky, they could get rid of him.
Checks and balances on the high seas. Amazing. What else was in this pirate code?
Lots of stuff. Rules about behavior on board, how they split the loot, which, by the way, had to be fair. And here's the kicker. They even had a system for injuries.
Like workers' comp for pirates.
Precisely. It was all written down in their articles. Lose a limb, lose an eye. There was a set payment for it. Pretty smart. Shows they understood the risks of the job. It was their own weird version of a safety net.
Wow. You expect chaos, and you find an organized system. It really makes you think. I mean, if Blackbeard were around today, would he be negotiating for health insurance? Contributing to a 401k?
That's a funny thought. But it shows how much your sources really challenge those romanticized ideas. They paint a much more practical picture of pirate life.
So let's fast forward to a big moment in the story your materials tell. November 22nd, 1718, the day Blackbeard met his end.
A pivotal day. Blackbeard was a huge problem by then. A real threat to everyone on the Atlantic. His name struck terror into people's hearts, and the authorities, they wanted him gone.
Set the scene for us. What happened that day?
Picture it. Blackbeard's ship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, is anchored off the coast of North Carolina near Ocracoke Inlet. He's got a smaller crew with him, maybe taking a break, but here come two British Navy ships, led by Lieutenant Robert Maynard. Blackbeard's seriously outnumbered. But surrender. Not his style.
And that's where we get to the infamous Blackbeard look, right? The burning beard.
You got it. According to eyewitnesses, and your sources likely mention this, Blackbeard gets ready for battle by doing something crazy. He takes these slow-burning cords, soaks them in gunpowder, and weaves them into his beard. Then he tucks them under his hat. So as these fuses burn, they create smoke all around his face. It would have been terrifying, like he was some kind of demon.
Wow, what a sight. This larger-than-life figure wreathed in smoke, armed to the teeth, facing down the Navy. It's like something out of a movie. But the reality, as your sources show, was probably way more brutal.
It was. The fight was fierce, incredibly bloody. Maynard's men finally board Blackbeard's ship, and it's hand-to-hand combat from there. Now here's Blackbeard, totally outmatched, but he fights like a man possessed. Accounts say he was shot multiple times, but he kept fighting.
And the details of his death are pretty grim.
They are. The records say he was shot at least 5 times and stabbed over 20 times before he finally went down.
But even then, the story doesn't end, right? There's that chilling legend about what happened to his body.
Oh yeah. After they killed him, they cut off his head and threw his body in the water. But according to legend, it didn't sink right away. It swam around the ship. Some stories say it swam 3 times before finally going under. It's a gruesome tale, probably exaggerated, but it shows just how much fear and awe Blackbeard inspired.
So from this larger-than-life figure, let's move on to another part of the pirate story that your sources highlight. The women. The women who said, forget convention and sailed under the black flag.
Absolutely. When we imagine pirates, we almost always think of men, right? But history tells a different story. There were women who chose this life, a dangerous, unconventional life. And 2 of the most famous are Anne Bonny and Mary Read.
Incredible women. Anne Bonny, known for her ferocity and skill in combat.
She was something else. Tough, ruthless in battle, just as capable as any man, they say. And she often fought with 2 pistols, deadly accurate.
And then there's Mary Read, who spent years disguised as a man.
For a big chunk of her life, she lived as a man. Even served in the military before becoming a pirate. That disguise let her blend right in, and she earned a reputation as a great fighter. Brave, skilled with a sword.
And here's the thing. Both of them chose this life. Unlike many men who were forced into naval service, they weren't forced into anything.
Right. They rebelled against what society expected of them. They wanted freedom, adventure, even though they knew it was dangerous.
And when they were captured, they did something pretty amazing to avoid execution.
They did. When their crew was caught, Anne and Mary both claimed to be pregnant. And under English law, that meant a delay in their execution.
Oh.
Clever, huh? Though it didn't guarantee their freedom, of course. Mary Read died in prison before her child was born. And Anne Bonny's fate is still a bit of a mystery, which your sources might actually debate.
They really show that the pirate world wasn't just a bunch of men. So let's jump from the past to the present. Pirates, we tend to think of them as figures from history, right? But Are they really?
Sadly, no. We still have pirates today, though not the swashbuckling kind from the Caribbean. They're different, but they're very real.
You're talking about modern piracy, off the coast of Somalia.
Exactly. In places like the Horn of Africa, piracy's back. But it's changed. These guys use speedboats, guns, even rocket launchers. They go after cargo ships, take them hostage, and demand huge ransoms.
Not exactly wooden ships and swords anymore, but is the driving force still the same?
That's the thing. The technology's different, the world's different, but the motives haven't changed all that much. It's about greed, desperation, the desire for easy money, whether it's Blackbeard with his burning beard trying to scare his enemies, or modern pirates using satellites to haggle over ransoms. It's all about taking what you want by force.
Makes you think, doesn't it? We've made so much progress, but that part of human nature, that urge to grab what you can, it's still there.
Yeah, it's a sobering reminder, and your sources do a great job of highlighting this, that opportunity and desperation together can bring out certain behaviors in people.
Well, this has been an amazing journey through the world of pirates. We've stripped away the myths and found something much more complicated and often much more brutal. And it all came from the incredible sources you shared with us. Thank you so much for guiding us through it.
It's been a pleasure. Always great to go beyond the surface and really dig into history. And thanks to you for providing the material.
And to you, our listener, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. If you enjoy uncovering these truths with us, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next exploration. And tell your friends, anyone who loves a good pirate story. And hey, if you're feeling generous, leave us a review. We love to hear from you.
And if you're looking for some cool pirate art, head over to jdpht.net. We're giving away 10 limited edition framed pirate ship prints.
Until next time, everyone, stay curious and keep exploring.
See you on the next deep dive.
The most valuable thing we've discovered today isn't gold or jewels. It's the knowledge that what drives people, good or bad, can stay the same across centuries. Something to think about, even after the pirate stories fade away.